Welcome to the bunker. Today we're talking to Pavlína Hanzíková. Saying it right, Pavlína Hanzíková, yes. She is the mindset designer. Pavlína came to me and told me everything about highly sensitive persons, which was something that I didn't even know existed before I found her on LinkedIn, of all places. And it turned out that that's a really, really interesting thing that affects 15 to 20% of the world population. And I don't really know where to start or where to end, so I guess you just have to hear for yourself, but it's a very interesting thing. Hopefully I can have Pavlína coming on my show again. A few words about the sponsors. Alfred Jobs, that's an app and a web page in the Czech Republic, available in English, Czech and Slovak. Thousands of jobs from different companies all around the countries, and the only page that suits multilingual expats that are seeking jobs amongst the Czech jungle of jobs. You can set up like a job board so that you get alerted whenever there's a job, and you can apply with one click. You have your online profile that's kind of like a CV. So instead of spending like 5 hours per day applying for jobs, you can spend 5 minutes and apply for 10 jobs. Actually, the guys at Alfred told me that they're seeing some of their users applying for 7 to 8 jobs within 20 minutes. Beat that. The other sponsor is the Old Bar Prague. It's one of the sweethearts of the city by now, and it's an amazing story. It started just over a year ago and has been successful from day one. Great oatmeals with different toppings. Everything is made in-house, no shortcuts, no nasties used, no white sugar, no flour, none of the stuff that we've been told today is unhealthy. And an amazing skyr, organic skyr from a farm just an hour outside of Prague, by the place's own formula. So the Old Bar created a skyr formula, beat that. Available on takeaway, home deliveries on Volt and Bolt, and open on the weekdays from 8:30 until 3:30, except Fridays to 1:30 and Saturdays from 8:30 to 1:30. And then if you're listening, please follow the show on Spotify, Google, Apple, and those services that you're using. And please leave a review. You can follow the Facebook page, the Bunker, how the hell did we end up here? And on Instagram, Bunker Prague, I think it's called. And then my personal one is Midlife Crisis Warrior on Instagram and Twitter. Enjoy the show. Thank you. Welcome to the bunker, Pavlína Hanzíková. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah. How do you like my bunker?
I love it.
Yeah. How much do you get paid for saying this?
Nothing.
Woohoo! Pavlína is the mindset designer, and I just want to say a quote from your Instagram, or actually it's from your homepage. You're empowering free thinkers and spirits, empaths, deep feelers, and highly sensitive, and other beautiful souls, feeling stressed and overwhelmed in this uniform world. So, very briefly, what is that you do?
Mm-hmm. Well, the uniform world is a world designed by the majority, and it's designed for the majority. So any minority that is not okay with following this universal template will feel a bit strange, let's say. So, and because the highly sensitive people form only 20% of society, then they are the minority in this 80% of the majority society. So it's exactly for them or for me, because I'm one of them.
And how do you, when you say uniform world, you mean like social expectations, education system?
Education, mainly education system, the whole system. You are born, then something is expected from you. You go to the kindergarten, then you go primary school, high school, and there is this system. And it's based on a template that there aren't many alternative ways how to achieve the same thing actually. So you must follow this. Now it's changing. That this word alternative is big now, but it's still not as big as it should be. So it's a lack of options. That's the point.
For diverse or people that are different.
Exactly, that are different.
And so you're basically like let's say a life coach in a way.
Yes.
And why?
Because I was always attracted to the field of psychology, the self-improvement, self-development, spirituality, philosophy, just anything related to thinking and exploring the human mind. So I think it was natural for me to become a life coach and to work with people.
And it gives you pleasure?
It gives me pleasure.
Yeah.
Because I'm an explorer. So I love to analyze things on a deep level, which this is one of the traits of highly sensitive people. So, and then we are very compassionate people, and we love to help, and we care.
Okay, that sounds good. I found you on LinkedIn actually. I was adding people to my network, and I came across your profile with that we had some mutual connections, and then I thought, well, okay, there is someone doing something different here, and why not? So I reached out for you, and now you're here, and which I'm very happy about.
It was very spontaneous.
Yeah. I tend to do this. I mean, a lot of people probably think that I'm a weirdo or more weird than I am.
No, absolutely not.
No, but thanks for coming. Tell me, I mean, you obviously were not born as a life coach. I mean, there is some background. Where did it all start? Where are you from?
Yeah, I wasn't born a life coach, but I was definitely born a listener and observer. So, and this is where it starts. I was the quiet one. So, and again, it's linked to the highly sensitivity. And so when I was in a kindergarten school, some teachers complained or made comments about me to my mother that I'm too quiet and that I will have problems later in life. And fortunately, my mom wasn't one of those who would be bow down to authorities. So she I think at that time she took it as something good. She said, I remember, and it's like, we laugh about it when we talk about, when we recall memories. And she said something like, but couldn't it be that the other kids are too loud? Maybe she's not too quiet.
Yeah, there are always two sides.
Yes, so I think she's perfectly fine, but just let her be. So in the kindergarten school, for me, it was very difficult. There were two things very difficult for me. I didn't want to sleep and I didn't want to eat.
In the kindergarten?
In the kindergarten school. And again, that's the template. There were certain times for eating and certain times for sleeping. They were not okay for me. And so, and I struggled. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel good. But of course, when you're the only one, you have 20 kids there, 19 kids are okay, and I was the only one. So they wanted to break me so I wouldn't cause problems. They didn't look for ways how to come closer to me. Yeah. So, and that's it. Yeah. So of course at that time nobody knew about high sensitivity, and of course my parents didn't know anything about that. But looking back, that was one of the very first experiences of being highly sensitive.
And so your mom sounds like not like a uniform mom.
No.
Because most parents would just say, I'll beat this out of her, or I'll make her obey, Yeah.
No, and she didn't do that, and I'm very grateful she didn't, because this is a thing for. There is a book, The Highly Sensitive Person, which is something like a Bible for all highly sensitive people. So if someone feels that they identify with this, they should read this book. That's the first book to read. And the author discusses this in the book, that the highly sensitive people, they either grow up as confident people or people with low self-esteem. And it depends on the way how their parents or caretakers, how they reacted to these first experiences in their childhood. So if they were supportive of it, then the child sees it as something that the child is okay, actually, there's nothing wrong with me. But if it was discouraged, then it creates this, there's something wrong with me.
I'm not good enough.
Yes.
And but would you say, was it like a traditional, I mean, you obviously went to a traditional kindergarten,
I
but did you live like a traditional life? What did your parents do, and how was the childhood?
Yeah, so they were just ordinary people. And but they were but not so ordinary in the way they think, that they were just not the traditional people. They are very individualistic, and they have their way of looking at things, and freedom was and is important for them. So in this way, they, on the outside, they looked like anyone else, but on the inside they were just different.
And when you say that, like freedom and different thinking, what do you mean? Like, in, I don't know, what does that mean actually?
Well, like my father, he loves books and politics and discussing things. So I was surrounded by books from a very early age, like all different, schools of thought, and so I was exposed to many different things, not only to this, Czech culture thing, many different authors. News from the outside world. So we like to discuss the world affairs. So that was it.
So it's kind of a bigger, like, let's say you get into a bigger universe in a way.
Exactly. And I was a reader. I love books. So I think I read more than I played with toys. So that's it actually.
But you're an only child, right?
I'm an only child, yes.
And isn't that often the case with only child, that they actually often look more in than
it's
out?
Definitely it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I heard that somewhere, that often only childs they tend to read more and so on.
Yes.
But so you say that you realized already at kindergarten that you didn't want to eat and sleep. I have never had that problem.
Yeah, well.
But how did this affect you? I mean, like in a sense that you kept on going to school, and or did you already start making different choices because of this?
Well, this eating thing.
I
will make a point here.
Yeah.
It has been following me all my life, actually. I don't know if it's trauma or what, but every time I'm like too excited or overstimulated, that's a thing for us, highly sensitive, then I can't eat. And so I think I was born with it, yes, but at the same time they made it even worse. So yes, but to get back to your question, yes, again, in the kindergarten school I was the only one who didn't want to eat. Then when I was older, I was the only one who asked questions, for example. So my favorite question was why? Why do we have to do it this way? And of course, it created opposition, because there were no other kids who would support me, and the teacher there would be hatred. So I was the one who would always like think deeper and ask these questions. And yes, and I hated all my life injustice and unfairness, which is another trait of highly sensitive people, since we just feel more deeply. So,
but I guess also, I mean, you're born. I mean, you're kind of getting into school, and you're well into school where communism ends, for example. And I guess that the kid, I don't know, like a 10-year-old kid that is asking questions is not necessarily what the teacher that had spent 90% of their working life under communism is used to.
Not.
So you were unpopular in school.
Yes.
By both kids and teachers, or only teachers?
I think both.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what did you feel about that? How did that feel? Did you feel lonely or?
We only children, we're never I we have a rich imagination and a very rich inner world. So I had my books, my toys. It's not that I didn't have friends, of course. And at the same time, I love being out and I love socializing with people. But okay, if they don't want me, I won't feel lonely because I have other things to do.
And you studied? What did you study in the end?
Yeah, in the end, I studied with the Open University in the UK. And that's another thing that was perfect for me because I think I was done with this, the traditional system. So for me, it was like, give me the book, give me the materials, and I will study on my own. So I was looking for ways how to do it. And then a friend recommended this Open University, and it was just, for me, it was the best option. So I could study with a foreign university, and at the same time I was here. It was perfect. So it was long distance. So I was a pioneer in this.
And what did you study exactly? I mean, what topics?
Modern languages, English and Spanish. So that's what I studied. So it was good.
But that's kind of like away from what because I know you're neurolinguistic programming certified in that, and also a certified life coach.
Yes.
Was that like, that's not languages, that's not Spanish and English. I mean, like, how did
it's not, but still there is a relation, especially this neurolinguistic programming, where you just you study how words influence the human performance and just this human experience. And in NLP, with the right words, you can completely reprogram human mind. So there is a link.
Okay. But we wanted to focus more on the kind of the life coach part and the highly sensitive people. Alongside your studies and while you're kind of growing up, are you, how do you say, more and more aware of this, or are you learning this about yourself as you go, or?
Yes, I couldn't find the right name for it, so I knew that I just felt more deeply. Yes, and I just reacted to things in a different way, and they was just and I was told that you're so deep, that was the usual thing. And so I knew this about me, but I couldn't find the right word for it, so I called it just being different. So the first thing I did on Instagram, I started an account, and the name was Being Different is Good. That was back in 2014. And I was talking about being highly sensitive.
Without knowing.
Without knowing. So everything the content I created for that project, everything was exactly about this. And I didn't know. Then I put it aside for some time. And then a few years later, I just came across this word, highly sensitive person. And this is where it all clicked.
But I mean, like, I wanted to maybe go into what it is, or what are the signs, or let's say the traits of being highly sensitive.
Okay, so there are 4 main signs. D for depth of processing, of perception. O for overstimulation. E for strong emotional response or empathy. And S stands for sensitivity to fine details. So these are the 4 most important traits of highly sensitive people. And why are we highly sensitive? I think that's the most important question. So it's not a disorder. There is nothing wrong with us. We are born with a highly sensitive central nervous system. And central nervous system as the motherboard, the powerhouse of everything. So if you have a sensitive central nervous system, that means that everything you absorb and everything you perceive will be stronger. The reaction will be stronger. It's a genetic trait.
So it magnifies.
Yes. You can't do anything about it. You are born with it.
But like you mentioned, for example, well, actually just the word in itself, like highly sensitive people, and I was reading a little bit about this, and I could see like there were things where I thought, yeah, okay, that's kind of like an introvert, okay, and that's kind of like shy. I mean, it's a new thing, right?
It's a new thing.
Or relatively. When was this kind of...
Yeah, this topic hasn't been discussed enough in the field of psychology. So there's been a research in the 80s, some research. Then this book I mentioned, The Highly Sensitive Person, was written in the 90s, in 1995. And the book was updated, republished in 2020, last year. So this field is still very new and unexplored and misunderstood.
Yeah, and if you take this kind of like those 4 pillars, if you maybe elaborate a little bit on each one of them, I to put it into kind of a real life context. I mean, are there examples?
I can give you a very simple example.
Yeah.
So you and I, we decide to have a drink in a bar. Okay, so we pick a place, or you pick a place. We go inside. And I don't know if you're highly sensitive or not, but we go inside and you will look around and you will see 4 tables, 5 people, some music, good, you sit down. I go inside and I feel, that's the first thing, I feel the energy of the place, and it's difficult to explain, but I feel the energy, the vibration of the place. I see the subtle differences. I see all the decorations. That the music that is there, it either reminds me of something, or just I resonate with the music, or I don't. I also notice the facial expression of the people. So I notice that maybe there's something going on. That couple, there might be something argument. I immediately notice the smell. I notice if the lights are okay for me or not. So. And all this happens within a few seconds.
So you should be in the CIA. I mean, you.
Well, someone told me that I would be a perfect spy. Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean,
yeah.
But a lot of this, I'm definitely not highly sensitive, I think, based on this, because I remember living in an apartment for 5 years, and when I moved, my friend who was helping me asked me, "Are these photos on the walls yours?" And I had never seen them.
Exactly, so and this is it. This is the difference, actually. Yeah. That we notice all the details. And it's not conscious. We don't want to know this. We know this. And this can lead to the second trait, this overstimulation. So if your brain does this all the time, then of course you will be overstimulated.
You're non-stop picking up signals.
Exactly. So we are on alert. But it's not conscious. And it's not that bad at the same time. It can be fun, actually. It's fun. I enjoy it. I told you, I'm an observer, so I enjoy this because you learn so much about everything. So, but if it's too much of this can be very bad for us. So that's why we must focus on moderation. So you must know who you are.
But like in this case, so you say this overstimulation, because you basically are programmed to pick up things from your environment. What would be like, is there a situation or circumstances where this is extremely risky for a highly sensitive person? Or like, are there some, like, are there places, for example, or situations that you personally avoid?
Yeah, well, loud places, like those typical, like Potrefenaus. I shouldn't mention.
Yeah, like restaurants that have.
Yeah, and with this vibe, there are many people.
Music is on.
And it's so loud. So these places, I would say the typical Czech pub. Yeah. It just doesn't sound very good, but like guys are very loud, and the light is bright. Actually, it's usually light is bright. And this is not good.
I have a feeling in those places that they want to create a sense of urgency. That you have to drink your beer fast.
Yes,
you have
to. Yes. There is. I never felt relaxed in those places. I mean, I can deal with it, but for a short period of time. Yeah. And that's another thing, because many people don't know they're highly sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And so they force themselves into activities with others because they think this is what people do.
Yeah.
Because this is what their friends do.
You want to fit in.
Exactly. And they don't realize that they actually hurting themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So this can lead to, then people, I wouldn't say, maybe depression.
Mm-hmm. Anxiety,
exactly.
for sure.
And still it's not that there's something wrong with them. They just don't understand that their body is very fragile in this way, that the central nervous system needs a special treatment. You must, and that's why I do what I do, because I want more people to realize who they are so they can take good care of themselves. So because I was the same. For many years, I was doing things that were not for me. But that was because I wanted to do those things. I still want to do, but okay, I'm not that I would just hide myself, like from the outside world. Absolutely not. But I know my limits, and I take better care of myself. And thanks to that, I discovered the term, the highly sensitive person.
And it was this feeling deeper, and then it was the stimulation. There were two more.
This emotional response, it's linked to that. So we can be, let's say, we're usually too excited in a good and in a bad way. But in a good way, where you meet someone, you meet a new, you meet a lover, okay? So then the experience is just like you're high. Because it's just, we are more excited than the average. So that's beautiful. But at the same time, the pain...
If it goes wrong.
Exactly, of the heartbreak. That is also deep and very bad. So it's just everything is exaggerated. So this is the strong emotional response, but at the same time, the empathy, there is this empathy. So since we pick up on those fine details, like the change of someone's voice, the tone of the voice, so we can read people. Not that sometimes I wouldn't want to do it, but it's a part of me. So I read it, and I feel it. So that in that way I can help people. And I will give you a very simple example of this. I was in the hospital like 8 years ago, and there were 4 of us in the room, and there was one old woman, and she was so stressed, and she was seeing things. She was like somewhere, back in time, recalling, talking to people. So she couldn't sleep. We couldn't sleep because she couldn't sleep. She was screaming, and she was so distressed. And there was nobody who would try to calm her down. The nurses, the doctors, the other people in the room. And then she kept repeating, like, I must go to the funeral. And I will miss the funeral, and I need to pack my suitcase. This is what she kept repeating, this all day, all night. So then I stood up. I didn't feel good myself. I stood up and I went to her and I said, but the funeral was yesterday, And so she immediately reacted like, oh, it was yesterday. And I said, you missed it. But it's not a problem because the friends were there, because she was repeating some names. But your friends were there. And she said, okay, so they were there. And what did they say? So I made up a story.
Yeah.
I said, and where's my suitcase? I said, it's right there. And she said, oh. And she felt such a huge relief.
Yeah.
And everything was better.
Yeah.
And it was simple. And this is, I had to do it, So imagine, I was feeling so terrible. She was feeling terrible. But I still stood up and did it. And there were many, I have many examples like this.
And you say that you kind of, how do you say, like when you discovered this about yourself and you started understanding this better, you learned some mechanisms or some ways. I mean, did you change your life? I mean, do you know? I don't know. Are there certain things that you just don't do anymore?
Okay, because I wasn't aware of this, and the techniques that are presented that we should use to help ourselves. I had to come up with my own mechanisms, how to calm myself down, how to believe in myself, which thanks to my parents was okay. But so everything I discovered later about, how to take care of yourself. So then it was just confirmed because I had to come up with these techniques myself. But what I didn't do was this taking care of myself. Like when I have to pause and really check with myself when I have a tendency to overdo something. Since I'm so excited, I could go for a long time and I know it's not healthy for me. So I must say now I have to stop. Whatever it is, fun, going out, working. So I must, this I changed after finding the highly sensitive person, the word, the term.
Yeah. But until then, you had basically kind of found your own way.
Yes,
in it.
I found my own way. So, and that's actually the whole Instagram page, the whole project is about that. I'm sharing what I did and how I coped and how they should see themselves actually. That sensitive means creative, it means strong. So, okay, so like this COVID thing. Some people, they say that the level of depression is higher than, like, this is the highest, the peak, in the history. But me being highly sensitive, I don't see any difference.
No,
because I had to live through situations that made me so uncomfortable because of my stronger emotional response to it, and I survived. Actually, I coped with it. So for me, it's like it is uncomfortable, but I already know what it's like to be very uncomfortable, being in situations where I was the only one, like being different. That's very uncomfortable, actually. So okay, fine.
But I guess also now with COVID that everything is closed, you can't really go into a place like Potrafennahusa that you mentioned earlier, where it was noisy.
I don't miss these places at all.
No, exactly. I mean, like, and there are people who are suffering that maybe miss that,
Exactly. But at the same time, I love music and I love clubs. I've been going to clubs all my life, so I have no problem with loud music. But it must be my kind of loud music.
Yeah.
But the loud people in general, I don't deal well with it. So yes, but I miss because of the lockdown. Of course, that I miss places because I'm very social. I love going to events like business events and meeting new people and cafes or just on my own. I love culture. Yeah. So.
But when I was reading about the highly sensitive people, then I could draw a lot of similarities to, I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert on psychology, and so I don't know what is a term and what is a disease and what is a consequence and what is a cause. But I could see a lot of similarities with, for example, introverts in a way that, and it's interesting because, as you said, that the highly sensitive, that concept kind of is first in 95, 96. I heard about introverts first like 2014 or 13 or something like that. I read about it in a book, and since then it's everywhere. Everyone is talking about it, extrovert, introvert, and it's like a buzzword, somehow. Why hasn't highly sensitive become a buzzword?
Because again, only 15-20% of the society and many psychologists or the researchers or the people in charge, they don't really understand and they are not able to recognize. They can tell an introvert from a highly sensitive person because there hasn't been a research, and they confuse these things. So as a highly sensitive, you can be introverted, of course, but you can be very extroverted. It has nothing to do with it. Central nervous system either is sensitive or not. But that's another thing. This introversion, extraversion, that's another thing. So, and actually there was a research with kids. They did an experiment with kids. I think it was in the 80s. It's in the book, The Highly Sensitive Person. And so there was a room full of toys. And they invited each child to go to the room and to pick a toy. And based on that, they observed their behavior. So the kids that were not sensitive, they would just jump in and grab the first toy that looked, I don't know, it looked beautiful. But the highly sensitive, but at that time they didn't call it highly sensitive. They called it introverted or shy or timid or inhibited. They paused and they looked around for some time, like scanning the whole place, and then they chose a toy. So, and this is it actually, but they were not shy. They were not scared. This is, I told you about when we go, exactly, when we go to the bar together, I notice different things. I would do the same. I would scan the place and I would choose someone that resonates with me because of the energy, because of me. And that's it actually.
And in the same way, I mean, like I when I was listening to you now, you were talking about, for example, loud music or I mean, I've been forced once to go to the opera as a, I don't know, like it was part of school when I was 19. I suffered greatly, and it was not my thing. I would never go there on my own because it just stimulates me in the wrong way.
Exactly.
And on the other hand, I could be in a rock concert and have great fun, you know. So I mean, obviously people are different, but when you say though 15 to 20% of the world is expected to fall into this category, it's a lot of people.
It is, but still, it's only 15, 20. It's not a big group.
No, but still,
not big enough to start designing a different template for the world, you know, because the 80% is in charge. But they are needed. We are needed as much as they are needed. And actually, based on data, the scientific research, there's this sensitive group in each species among animals. They are the ones who are always on alert, so they can
watch out for the others.
Exactly, watch out for the others, and they can predict danger. So they are very important. But the problem is, among animals, I think it's pretty simple. But with people, it's not visible at the first sight. And if you don't know what it is, who you are, then you will suffer and it will be unnecessary. So it just needs a bigger awareness. That's all it needs.
There was something that I read about the highly sensitive people, that they do a lot of social comparison in a way, that they somehow compare themselves to the environment. Is that something that you?
Well, if they were discouraged since a very young age, then they create this. This is developed, and it's linked to insecurities and so on. Yes, because then they don't understand why they're so different.
So let's say that I'm a highly sensitive person, and I keep getting exposed to, let's say, both circumstances, stimulation, and also maybe this, that I'm constantly feeling that I'm wrong or I'm not fitting in, and people are maybe even telling me. I mean, and if that person doesn't find their cure or their answer or their path, or they don't come to someone like you for help, for example, what happens to those people? I mean, what are the worst case scenarios?
That they are hidden. They become invisible. And you should remember that sensitive people are usually artists. So all the artists you admire, they are highly sensitive. All the writers, this is the foundation of art, the sensitivity. So just imagine how many of these people are hidden somewhere in stupid jobs, caught in stupid situations, doubting themselves, only because they haven't found themselves, only because they don't understand who they are. And this is most of the clients I have worked with. It's the same scenario. They are regular employees. You have regular employee who is a poet, another one is a healer. And I always say, so why don't you do it like officially? Yeah, but you know what? Nobody, and this is it, nobody really believes in it. And I'm like, exactly, but and that's why that's why I do the work. That's why I have those sessions with them. But fascinating people, beautiful people, so kind, so nice, and then they feel so miserable about themselves.
But I guess it takes us back to this uniform world because, I don't know. I mean, and I think that the word sensitive is very stigmatized, for example. I mean, it carries a lot of weight in it somehow and not necessarily in a...
Like in Chinese, for example, the word sensitive means understanding. So they use this word understanding for the sensitive. And in the Asian culture, they value it. This is the highest, this is the best trait you can have, being sensitive, being quiet. So it really depends on where you're born.
Yeah, but here in the Western world and let's say the modern society, we keep talking about tolerance, diversity, and these things, but it seems to be only for certain groups of people. Because if you, I guess when we talk sensitive people, it's somehow stigmatized that they're weak or they're not useful or I don't know, they're somehow less valuable and worse than the rest of the people. And I think it's actually in that way it might be a bad word.
But it's because nobody really understands the word, what it really stands for. If you look it up in the dictionary, there will be a definition and there will be synonyms to the word. So it's important to look at the synonyms of the word. That sensitivity, to me, it's a beautiful thing. It means that you are alive, you live. Like feeling means living. And there is this trend to suppress your feelings. Like, this Sigmund Freud, he started this. He talked about this self-defense system. And he said that the healthiest, the strongest individual has the strongest self-defense system. But that means that individual is completely detached from his or her feelings and emotions. So to me, that is being actually weak. When you must detach yourself from something or suppress and control something, and then you're strong, I don't think so. So yes, there is a wrong interpretation of the word sensitivity, and people are ashamed of talking about their feelings, I think. I don't know how many friends, when you meet with your friends, do you talk about your deep emotions and feelings? I don't think so.
That's very rare.
That's exactly. But this is, for example, this is exactly what I like to talk about. Because for me, it's and it's not being self-centered, but I wanna share what I felt, actually, what I experienced. So, for example, when I travel, for me, traveling is seeing the things, of course, but mainly how I felt, because each city has a completely different energy for me. And so I remember all the places energetically. I know it sounds strange, but I think we sensitive people, we are in tune with our emotions. So I think we actually perfectly fine to be in tune. But because we live in a society that tells us to suppress our emotions, so I wouldn't have a problem with telling someone like, I find you so beautiful and I love you, like at the first sight. I wouldn't have a problem with it. but it's about the feedback. I know I wouldn't get like the same back and the feedback, and I would be misunderstood. But you know what? This has changed as well. That now since I know exactly who I am, I made a list of things and I made it very clear when I meet someone new. Like, this is me, this is what I need, and this is what I can offer. You know, like, because in the past I would adapt. This is it. We're very versatile and we adapt to situations and people and their way of doing things. But this must stop. We must be about us.
But
more.
Isn't that also just part of, I don't know, growing up in a way that you kind of know your boundaries better and you know more what you want and what you're willing to give, etc. in circumstances? I mean...
Yes, it is. But if you're empathetic, you're still so focused on the other person. So you put the other person first. And you don't want to do it, but you do it subconsciously.
So in some way then it's a submissive relationship, or it can become a submissive relationship in the way that one is more focused on the other person's feelings.
Exactly. Yes.
So the power balance in the relationship isn't right necessarily.
Exactly. But it depends on who you meet.
Yeah.
So if you meet a similar person, well, the chances are that you won't meet another highly sensitive person.
So
but at least more...
1 in 5?
Yes, like at least more sensitive than the average. Or just someone who is a little bit different. Then it's perfect. But in the modern society of, you know, self-centered people, well, then we can easily attract like many energy vampires and other people who like to take, and and we are givers. So we must control this. We must protect ourselves.
What's the nightmare? Like if you like from a, let's say, point of view of maybe actually it has to be a personal experience. What would be the worst circumstances you could see yourself in as a highly sensitive person? Where would it be, like, where you feel shit, this isn't working? I mean, like in general. In general,
yeah. Well, any situation, any relationship, professional or personal, where there is a lack of feedback. We need stimulation. So under-stimulation for us is equally bad. So overstimulation, we can be overwhelmed and feel bad. But understimulation, a lack of feedback, a lack of communication, a lack of affection, anything that has a lack of something, it is just terrible. So that's a nightmare. Someone who is not talkative, someone who is just, I don't know, I would write one paragraph and I would get one okay or something like that. That's a nightmare for us. We need this constant flow, like exchange. Yeah, that's what we need, exchange, because we communicate with our senses.
If you look at, like, listening to this, I mean, if you then think about a highly sensitive person in the workplace and in a boss-employee relationship,
that's just terrible. That's why I encourage every highly sensitive person to be self-employed, to become their own boss.
You've done that. You've been...
Yes. I never worked for anyone, and hopefully I won't have to. I will do anything I can to prevent this.
And why is that?
Because I must do things in my own way, and I know that the job description would limit my competence, my creativity. I know I'm creative. I know it. I know that I can find solutions easily. I'm a resourceful person. So why should I work for somebody else? And they would have just 1% of, I don't want to sound like that, I'm celebrating myself, but it's based on my experience. So I know who I am. Why? Again, why? There are more ways how to make money. And this is for highly sensitive people. So like my headline is, I want them to feel great about themselves. I want them to stop doubting themselves, and I want them to start working for themselves. Because with all that creativity, you can be whatever you want to be. But you must understand that your sensitivity is a strength, not weakness. So you must actually reframe everything that was ever told to you.
Yeah, that you've been told that it's a weakness, you actually turn it into a strength.
Exactly.
And are there any specific, like, I mean, how is it for, just thinking now, like if a highly sensitive person, man or woman, has a child, for example, how do they react to that stimuli? Like, can they function when the kid is screaming? And
yes, so I think it's very beneficial for the child because the parent is so focused on the child and feels any change early. So the parent can really protect the child in a way that they don't have to go through unnecessary stress. But at the same time, the parent can become very overwhelmed and very quickly and very easily. So it's recommended to have a help. There must be somebody else, and the parent needs days off, like the other partner would take care of the child. And
but wouldn't they just called bad parents then? I mean, you know what I mean? Like
exactly. Well, by stupid people, definitely.
Yeah.
But people who are ignorant and people who don't have any knowledge, but even like just common sense. Like this just we just mentioned that the word sensitive means understanding in Chinese, and that's it. So for example, I can understand you if you tell me like, okay, I can do this, I sleep on my head and I don't know, whatever you tell me you do, that you need a pink elephant like next to you, and I would say fine. Whatever it makes you feel good, I'm just fine with it. And all my life I was told like, wow, I feel so good with you. You have this calming, personality, and I feel so free. And I'm like, yes, but that's because I am sensitive, so I understand. I definitely don't get the same back, that people will be so understanding. Like, okay, so we will like turn the volume down because you just can't take it. No, you adapt to us. Always. It's been always like that.
And because I'm wondering this with the parents, because I had someone here a few weeks ago talking about feminism, and they were saying that, or she said that, like a woman who chooses to have a career and therefore puts their child into daycare is considered a bad mom. That's the kind of the society stamp on it. And I can imagine that if somebody would tell their mother-in-law, I need three days a week, I need some help because I'm, that's my personality type.
Yes, as I said, alternative ways.
Yeah.
There are more options than only one.
Yeah.
And it's just people's limitations, the way they think. That's the only limiting thing. And then, you have so many people on antidepressants. But why do you think that is? Because of this.
Yeah.
It's not like nothing really big or bad is happening. These little things, when they pile up, then it explodes.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we actually live in a world that is much more manageable now than it was. I mean, at least us here in the Western Empire, like we don't have to go out and hope to find food, and we don't have to fight the neighboring tribe and any of those things, but we are killing ourselves from the inside somehow.
Exactly.
With stress and
very
problems.
Nicely put. Yes.
The people that come to you, because I know that, so you have the Instagram page.
Instagram, yeah.
And you have a web page, and you have done 2 ebooks.
Yes.
We'll talk a little bit about that later, but and then people can actually book with you like one-on-one sessions. Are there any types of people that come to you more than others? Can you, are women more willing to explore this, or men, or is there any?
In my case, it's the gender. It's equal, but usually people who just they feel different, and they're happy that they came across something or someone like me who addresses these things. So they kind of found themselves in that. So these people, they usually come. So, but we talk about people, let's say in their 50s sometimes, you know. So now they are discovering themselves.
But it's better late than
it's
never.
Of course it is. But and then I think about like how their life would be different if something like this existed, I don't know, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
If it was more explored, there would be so many happy people. Like, I like the word unnecessary. Many things are so unnecessary. All it needs is just a flexible mindset. If I can understand you, so please make a little effort to understand me, and we'll be okay.
But are there any specific areas you mentioned earlier, like artists and writers and whatever kind of creative? Are those the places where the highly sensitive people are, let's say, blooming or they're performing best?
Definitely blooming, but even the academic work and lawyers as well.
I'm very curious about that.
Because this is this depth of processing. So, and what we also do, it's called creating of patterns. So since we observe, we saw that person when they were angry, they behaved like that. It's very simple. Or the eyes went that direction. So let's say I was a 5-year-old and I created a certain pattern. And this pattern just I processed. So it's somewhere stored in my brain. And then every time I come across something similar, then okay, this is it. I put it, I add it to that list. So this is
and you process it in the same way.
In the same way. This is it's like everyone does it, but we just do it more strongly, more deeply. So this pattern creation, this is analytical thinking. So you can you see something similar, and you just remove it from your box somewhere, and you're there actually. And then it looks like you are the most intelligent person in the world because you have, this vast knowledge. Well, it's from the observation, from the depth of processing. So,
but and that comes with working with it, I guess, or is that like a default setting of a highly sensitive person?
It's a default setting. This depth of processing is definitely it's a default.
So you're probably the only 20% on Earth that likes lawyers.
Yes. Yeah, I love because I met some lawyers and I love the way they think because we relate. They're usually quick and bright, as I said. So good. That's what I do as well. Like, okay, then I'm a shortcut person. That's what I like. Yeah. And it's thanks to this depth of processing. Like, okay, I'm already at, I don't know, point C and you're still at A. So then it can be frustrating for both sides.
But somehow that contradicts in a way like if you say that you're a shortcut person, then it brings me back to when you were mentioning that you process and you notice a lot of things in the environment. So I guess what you're saying then that you have gotten so used to it that you process it super fast.
Super fast. You like all your senses are so activated. That's how it is. Like now we're sitting together and I'm so activated. I'm focused on you. I'm sensing the environment. I'm thinking about like what to say and, I'm just,
How amazingly nice this bunker is.
Yeah. Yes. For example, yes. Yeah. I like your fridge, the color of it. Yeah. And it's so yes. It's intense. So that's why it happens so quickly.
But doesn't it take a lot of energy then?
Oh, so much energy. That's why the overstimulation happens. So like, okay, if we go sightseeing, then I won't go out that evening. I must stay at home.
Okay.
So
because you get overstimulated and you get tired, you need to rest.
Exactly, because overstimulated from all the information that I had to process. in a strong way. Because, like a normal, you go to work, you commute every day, and many people, they just don't notice anything.
No, I don't even know where I am sometimes.
So, but I see, like there's the smell, the sound, that I noticed that the billboard that reminds me of something, I don't know, that I read, it goes to something else. So it's like it's stimulation from all sides.
Yeah.
So that's why I always hated commuting, actually. So
you drive blindfolded in an Uber.
Yes, but it depends.
Yeah.
So and yes, it happens quickly and all the time. But it's fun, this is what I'm trying to say. It's fun.
Yeah, no,
you enjoying yourself in the world. You enjoying the world.
I can see where that comes from, and I but it's fun as long as you
believe
yeah.
and believe in yourself,
yeah.
and as long as you feel and think it's something good, not something bad, which brings us back to the upbringing, the self-confidence. And yes, you must moderate it, because then your body, you will hurt yourself.
Yeah. Now I was just thinking while we were talking, and then I told you that you should work for the CIA, and now. I mean, it's often believed that humans we carried some senses that we have stopped using. Let's say that we had the sense for smell or danger or whatever, but that we have lost this. Do you think that maybe highly sensitive people had some sort of a specific role in ancient societies? If you think about it that way, are these actually skills that were used specifically for something?
Yeah, absolutely. So these two groups, so we can call them the 80% group. They are the fighters, the warriors. They go out there and they just fight. And we, the 15-20%, we stay, we watch, we observe from the distance. So we are the advisors. So we watch the fighters, what they do, how they do it, and we look for ways how to improve their performance. So when they come back from the battle, we can work with them and we can help them be prepared for the next battle even better. So this is our role in the society. But again, people must understand what it is. There must be awareness, and the stigma must be gone.
Yeah, it's
Then we can be advisors, and then we can believe in ourselves the way we deserve.
Is there any I don't know? Is there any medical treatment for this? I mean, I say it's actually stupid to say treatment because it's not a disorder or a disease.
Yeah.
But are people using some remedies, or is there something that they use?
Yeah, you need something to calm yourself down a little bit. So you need this on a regular basis. So whatever helps you to calm down, it can be anything. Meditation, nice music, or just alone time. I think you need enough sleep and enough alone time. That's the most important thing. Like I can be with people. Let's say when I had a boyfriend, I will always return to my shelter. I can't do it nonstop. I need my days off. Always. And I need my own bed. I can't sleep with anyone in the same bed. That's another thing. Because we're just too excited. So, and especially with sleeping, when I lie down, I want to think about, I want to process everything. The senses. I want to go through it. I want to experience, recall everything that I heard and saw, and I want to do it on my own. So yes, or CBD oil. I like CBD oil because that is great. Like That's perfect. It really like, it calms you down.
Yeah. When I was reading about this, I felt like, so I mentioned it before, it's a stigmatized word, but I felt like the focus on the pages that I found quite a lot of material about it, but I felt that the focus was a lot about the let's say the disadvantages, like it was very much, and I was thinking, okay, so in some way it was victimizing, that you have to feel bad that you're like this, and I was missing a little bit like, well, it can be useful, or it can be great, it can be the best thing that you ever found out about yourself.
Exactly.
And I guess maybe that's because there hasn't, as you said, there hasn't been enough research, there is not enough talk about this. People are so busy talking about introvert or extrovert that
because that's easier. This is like it's for the white public. This is it's the mainstream topic.
Yeah.
This is not mainstream. It can be. It can become.
So just to kind of summarize in a way, like, so the people who are listening now, if you could tell them 3-4 situations or feelings or senses that they have that might indicate to them that they are belonging to this group, what would that be?
It would be they need to recharge their batteries more often and after a shorter period of time than others. It would be that this is simply they feel too much, and sometimes they don't know what to do with all these feelings. They can fall in love very fast, very hard, and it can be overwhelming. Anything can be overwhelming in a good or bad way. So they can sense or perceive rejection, for example, failure, like the end of the world. When it was just a stupid word or something like, okay, there will be another opportunity. So anyone who feels that the reaction is stronger than how the average person would react should really start thinking about this possibility that they are highly sensitive. So this is the loud places, the loud noise, also the artificial lights, like the shopping malls. And just the open office space, like the air conditioning, like the combination of these buildings. If you ever sense a building, I think it's definitely a sign of your highly sensitivity. Like that you feel not only a person, but also a place. That some places you just cannot stay there because you feel that there is something wrong. So if you feel things, I think the chances are you're highly sensitive. And of course, I know that they don't share this with people. They don't have anyone to share this with. When they tried, maybe they were discouraged, or they were misunderstood. So anyone who feels that they're just abnormal, weird, strange, crazy, even crazy, I think chances are they're highly sensitive.
And I guess the same goes for like the parents of those, or
exactly.
the spouses and husbands and boyfriends and girlfriends and wives and all that. And because it's I can see now, like after I listened to you here and also just reading the stuff that I read, that it's really, really easy to take someone who falls into this category, let's say, of people and basically deny them in a way, like say, well, she is crazy, or he is just oversensitive, or he is that. It's very easy to kind of, how to say, shut it down in a way.
And this is exactly what happens. That they hide it. And they adapt to the environment. And then, but when they hide it, okay, this just, I would like to say something else now. If you keep hiding it, so now I'm talking to the highly sensitive, if you keep hiding it, how do you expect the world to see who you are? They will never meet you, like the real you, if you keep hiding it. And don't blame them for not seeing it, because you never showed them. So why do you do it according to them? do it according to yourself. And maybe you can really inspire the world. Not maybe you will inspire the world. Because I know there is so much in you. So that was a personal message.
That's very empowering. And yeah, I mean, I guess this goes for everything, whenever, if someone is gay and has been willing
the
to
same
accept
thing.
it. Yeah,
They must come out, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have, so that's actually the kind of the main tips, let's say.
Yes.
Just be honest about it and bring it out. Don't try to hide it.
Absolutely.
But do you, Pavlina, I know that you have the Instagram and your webpage, but you've done 2 ebooks.
Yes.
That you offer to your followers and people that are interested in this. What are these books about? Okay,
so the first one is, again, it's related to working for yourself. So the first one is called The No BS Guide to the Self-Employed Mind. And it's not specifically only for highly sensitive people. It's just for people who want to become their own boss. But of course, highly sensitive will find themselves there. So because I really, really believe that people in general are so creative. And they could bring so much, they could give so much to this world. But because they follow this, as we said, universal template, they become employees. And I don't want to see any creative minds being employees. So at least, the reason I do it, the reason I wrote it, please at least try. You have nothing to lose.
No.
You can find yourself like doing wonderful things. And when you start working for yourself, it will lead to projects. Like, for example, today we're doing this. If I were an employee, I wouldn't be here.
No.
I would represent somebody else. But today I'm representing myself. So then, people say like life is boring and, I don't see, I see no beauty. Well, yeah, because you're limited. Like if you leave, as they say, the comfort zone, wow. Wonderful things will happen. So this is the No BS Guide to the Self-Employed Mind. Then I have Self-Doubt Detox.
I like that title,
Yes.
Self-Doubt Detox.
And again, it's not only for highly sensitive people, but it's just for anyone. Like we all doubt ourselves. And in most of the cases, it's unnecessary. We shouldn't do it. We have no reasons for it. And I talk about it in the book, about the external factors of the self-doubt, and so on.
And those can be downloaded. Or on your page, right?
Yes, yeah.
And so what's the page address?
The Instagram.
No, the where they get the books.
TheMindsetDesigner.com.
TheMindsetDesigner.com.
Yeah, but my main outlet is Instagram. So if they go on my Instagram, then they will be redirected to everything.
Yeah, and that's the Instagram is at Mindset.
The Mindset Designer.
The Mindset Designer. Yeah. We're about to kind of coming closer to the end. Now, working with people like this, like you do, doesn't it take a lot of your energy?
It doesn't. Well, I don't work with everyone. If I worked with everyone, then it would take a lot of energy. But since I do like a process how to filter out certain people, then it doesn't. But in a way, these sessions with people, it never had like a negative impact on me because I was completely in my element, like being completely focused on the other person. And you should also remember that it's not personal. It's not personal. I'm there to help, and I'm getting paid for it. So it can be, it can drain my energy when it's personal. Like a relationship, they will be just one-sided. Well, that would be devastating. But here I'm completely focused on the client. And I'm doing what I am, what I'm good at. So it's natural for me. Yeah. So it doesn't. But yes, if it would be a complicated client, then it would be complicated for me too.
And do you see yourself doing this for the
for
next
a very
years?
long time?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is it.
This is it.
Yeah.
Yes, this is it.
So, we mentioned before that people who feel overwhelmed, overstimulated, and that they feel that they react differently to circumstances where the rest of us or rest of the people don't, or they see something that they feel is different, then they should definitely check it out. And they can come to you and book a one-on-one session.
Yes,
that's on
they
your.
can.
I saw that on your webpage. But is there a test or?
There is a test. In that book, The Highly Sensitive Person, there is a test.
Okay.
It's a very simple test. There are things that I mentioned today, the noise, and just how quickly do you feel?
Yeah, this is just a lawyer and me thinking if I can just fill in a form and find out.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
But also among the highly sensitive people, there are differences as well.
Yeah.
On that scale, you can be like very, very sensitive, but like moderately sensitive or less sensitive. But you are in the group, so there are differences.
Okay. And what are you working on now? Are you going to publish anything new? Are you working on any particular projects?
Yes. I told you about this. Being different is good. So I have plenty of content, so much content that was used for Being Different is Good. So what I'm doing at the moment, and I wrote a book that I never published, and it was Being Different is Good. So I will just rename it that Being Sensitive is Good. So I have a
because in the meantime you learned.
In the meantime, I know how to replace the word.
Yeah.
It's not different. It's sensitive. So I have big plans with this book. I want this book to be on Amazon, definitely. Not just an ebook. I want this book to be presented to the whole world, to as many people as possible, because I want to see more people like myself out there and just shining.
Yeah. And your one-on-ones, you do that in English, Czech?
English, yeah, because the channel Instagram is just for the whole world, so it's in English. Okay. But yes, it can be Czech, English, Spanish.
Okay, Spanish as well.
Yes.
Hola. So I think that's it, Pavlína, right?
Yes.
I mean, we talked a lot about this. It's an interesting topic, really, really fascinating, actually, and. Guys, you can follow Pavlína, the Mindset Designer, on Instagram, and then themindsetdesigner.com is her webpage. Definitely check it out. She has some really cool messages there, and just check out the topic because it's a very interesting and not a very complicated scientifically to relate to, and I'm pretty sure that any of you will have in your network or family or close to you someone that you can identify in this group. I did, and now obviously you need to follow my show. I have a Facebook page called The Bunker, How the Hell Did We End Up Here? I would be very grateful also if you could take the time and go into the Apple podcasts, because apparently I just found out that it's possible to review podcasts there, and that affects their exposure. So if you have a chance to, and you like, first of all, you have to like what you're listening to, but I assume that you are still here because you do. But go into Apple or iTunes podcast and please give a rating and a review on the podcast. Otherwise, you can listen to it on Spotify, iTunes, Google. It's on something called Podbean and a few other places. I have a personal Instagram called The Midlife Crisis Warrior, and the same on Twitter, but there I'm just posting bullshit most of the time. Thanks to the sponsors, the Oat Bar and Alfred.cz for making this all happen. And I think I have captured everything. Pavlína, have a nice evening and thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. It was a pleasant experience.
Bye-bye, guys.